Good morning. Today is the beginning of the last week in February. It is kind of closer to what we're normally used to this month. We got some light snow coming down. It is thankfully not windy today, but it is about 15 degrees, so we are dressed a wee bit more warmly than we have been. And we are going to see what we can have done today. I don't know what shenanigans the camera is going to do because it usually doesn't like extreme temperature, and the air is kind of still, but it's not balmy. So we're out here today. We're going to try to do some tracking. It's crunchy as hell out, so we're not going to sneak up on anything. Let's move out. Let's see what we find, and we'll see what we make of the day. Thanks. Okay, we're back. I'm not going to attest to the quality of this video just because it's cold and the snow is coming down slightly wet. So between these two things, the camera so far is more or less behaving, which is surprising, but we'll see how we do. We're back in the infrasound area today just because more or less ease of entry and exit, given driving conditions on the way in. Right now it's a light snow. It's going to be off and on all day, so we're here kind of doing what we can today. I'm toying with the idea of a follow-up tomorrow where it's going to be like 40 as opposed to today, but we'll see how that goes. I say that because mainly were it like windy today past any point, I can assure you it would be so bitterly cold you're not going to get anything done, and other things too. We'll last as long as we do, but again, it's cold, so what we are doing today, because it is so still, there's like literally no wind today, we're going to get some photography done because look at your scenery, if that is showing as it should. But also we're doing some passive infrasound recording too because it's so cold today that or so still rather, that it's a control against previous visits where it hasn't been. But at this juncture, I'm kind of fighting the cold too, so that's my other limitation. Right about now, though, aside from the funk being your brother, kidding, you can hear the crunch, so I mean, the odds of sneaking up on anything today, I don't like my odds. But we are, can you just take a second and listen? As far as ambient forest noise, it's just really still today, which is always kind of a nice thing to be out in. Very peaceful. As far as infrasound goes, if the science holds true, there shouldn't be a lot. There's like literally no wind right now. So the only ambient, naturally occurring source of it is, excuse me, not really present right now. But we're going to, again, endurance to the cold is going to dictate the length of this video for the most part. In the community, there's a guy in New Hampshire somewhere who approached my investigative network there to do something with I think he said dowsing rods. Second time I've run into somebody up there who does that kind of thing. I'm not really sure how that relates to the Bigfoot thing, but he claims that's his method and wanted to hook up. Excuse me, I'm probably gonna politely say that, you know, we have different methods and good luck, but I don't know that I'm going to take him up on that at this point. He wanted to like do some feeling out too, which is usually actually a good sign, because that way he doesn't want to waste his time. Because here's the thing about people in the woo. I consider that kind of a woo thing, but he is like, let's kind of take a chance or take some time and kind of have a chat or two first and see if it's a compatible situation, which is usually a sign of maturity. Because I do actually know people on the woo side and can get along well with them. Sorry, I'm going to be dealing with my cold at the same time. But the key in a thing like that, maybe that's our topic for the day, is, you know, you disagree to disagree. What you agree to disagree. That's what adults do. And there's a lot of people out there that have Facebook groups that, I know I'm going to butcher the name of the group a little bit, but literally the name of the group is Bigfoot for Believers Only. So one would imagine a group like this caters to the more woo side of things, and therefore, rather than bring conflict there are other groups out there that are more like-minded for me, and I don't have to intrude on their circumstances, unlike some other serial debunker types that feel the need to confront these people like they're on their own little crusade. And I've been doing this for a while now, and it's been my experience. With rare exception, one side doesn't change the mind of the other. And yeah, you'll have the odd person come into the debunker group, I'll just call it that, and try to make a case for their theory of the week. Some are more esoteric than others, but like I said, I used to think that infrasound was more esoteric. But I mean, it is one of those things that actually does have some grounding in science, though. And if a debunker kind of like tries to immediately shut that down, because I have had some conversations with debunker types on things, and you find very quickly a lot of that has a whole lot more to do with their ego stroking than it does with any actual science. And as the debate will continue and continues to develop, they start moving the goalpost. Well, what I meant to say is, well, that's not what you said, though. Two that I can think of, I think because of the quality of my voice today, I'm going to keep this short, so I'm going to bang on my point. I am going to take a segment break and decide if I can regroup or not. But I'm not talking about the Lishan in this group. In this point, I'm talking about somebody from the J Area forums, and he, on two different occasions, got into a debate over one, the extinction status of the northeastern cougar. And the argument on an absolute basis was, well, they're not here in the Northeast, which is crap, because we had one get hit by a car in 2007 in southeastern Connecticut in the middle of the suburbs of Fairfield County, which is where all the rich folk live, or one suburb where some of the wealthier people in the state live. And you had one, and yes, they tracked it all the way from the foothills of South Dakota. But what that does make an argument for is not that they're not here, but there's no distinct geographical feature to the region that keeps them out. So regardless of whether they are native, as in born here or not, they're here. And if you have two of them meet here and have a litter of cubs here, guess what? That litter of cubs is now a native population, no matter how small. So that is not a sustainable argument, in my opinion. The other example was even more funny, because it was a matter of the existence of coy wolves and coy dogs, which is a scientific reality throughout New England and the greater northeastern region, with a scientific article written by the Connecticut equivalent to the DNR. And studies have been done, and creatures that look like coyotes to some degree but have a combination of domestic dog and timber wolf DNA are a factual reality within the state of Connecticut, Vermont, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York. Coy dogs and coy wolves are here. They're a thing. I've seen them. I've seen their tracks, and they are different than coyotes. And this same genius, I'm not even going to respect him at this point, came into a situation. The beginning of the thread in the forum began with coy dogs, coy wolves, and he comes in and arbitrarily declares there are no wolves in New England. Nobody said there were. Nobody said there were. And he starts making false assertions. Well, that's where you were taking this. That's where you were taking this. No. And I pointed a link to the actual paper written by the DNR, like, no, the people in the state government are freely acknowledging there are coyote-wolf hybrids with very much the DNA favoring coyotes in the mix, but there are some as high as 15-20%. And if you want to get into the real mutants, yes, they've been getting frisky with Fido in the suburbs, and yes, they have dog DNA too. And when you track them, and you have a mixed pack of them, especially this time of year, the coy wolves actually have tracks that look like domestic dog. But if you look at the actual animal, it's a freaking coyote-looking thing. They're hybridized. And this is a classic example of where this guy was trying to move the goalpost. Well, you were trying to lead the conversation to that. So it's interesting to me that you're a serial debunker now trying to make the case for me having, for you having psychic powers and knowing that I wanted to deceive the crowd and take it to this. I never was going in that direction. What I was saying is it's an interesting example of interspecies hybridization that's occurring right under a microscope as we speak. And rather than admit he had made a mistake, this fuckhead, I'm not even going to be nice about it, basically kept moving the goalpost in the argument to the point where he wouldn't be wrong. And that and a couple of other arguments are where I just straight up, you guys are no far further to the fringe. You're no further away from the fringe than some of the woo people you make fun of, whether you want to see it that way or not. Because rather than admit that there was a flaw in your allegedly critical thinking skills, you keep moving the goalpost of where you're trying to guide the argument to where you're right. But that's not where the argument was. So to the point, and just to jab this jackass with a stick, are there mountain lions in the northeast? Absolutely there are. There is one native to the neighborhood that we're in right now. I haven't seen him this year, but 2 years ago I did actually see him with my own eyes. And I have a video on my channel where I walk up on the deer kill that he had just made. Interestingly, in that same video, he lost the kill to a mixed pack of coy dogs and coyotes, and I think in the next video I was actually showing the tracks and the difference thereof. So you want physical evidence on my channel. I've actually offered this up. And I'm sure he'll find some way to move the goalpost again in the argument, but the fact of the matter is, who's being disingenuous then? The serial debunkers are, because they can't stand being wrong. It's got nothing to do with critical thinking, because that is not what they do. They debunk. And they'll go all in. They'll go ham on their debunking, but then when they're kind of backed into a situation where they're wrong, and sorry, William, in these two situations, you were in fact quite wrong. You know, rather than eat it and just freaking admit you were wrong and like learn something that day, you're a pompous asshole. That's all you are. And the entirety of the coalition is a little better. They do the same thing, and they mock and they deride, and when somebody actually has a valid point, you know, it's not a conceded point. It's the point where they will, you know, attempt to move the goalpost, and when it doesn't work, they'll ultimately call the person a troll and ban them from the group. That's what they do, which is kind of tragically funny. But anyway, getting back to anything else, this guy wants to go out with dowsing rods. So do I believe that this is a valid thing? No. That being said, as woo theories go, this is a new one. I would be curious how it works, just to have the knowledge of that for the sake of my own curiosity on a I'm humoring you basis, granted, but I actually find some of the woo people to be more gracious than the debunkers, because the debunkers are they're a product of their own arrogance. Who has time for that? And, you know, again, Michael Merchant's a guy that I'll have as a go-to, as somebody a little bit more woo than I am, but he actually does have a naturalist background, so he does know some of what he's talking about. And if you actually saw that snot fly by, I apologize. But again, I have a cold and we're out in the woods, so farmer's blow is the rule. Deal with it. And he does make some arguments. He has had a few arguments against these serial debunkers. He had recently returned to the debunker group and tried to make a go of it. But again, it's the same journey every time. I don't waste my time. We've had too many feuds, but the fact is I just don't waste my time with them because, you know, it's the matter, you have one malignant narcissist running the group and all his enablers. It's an echo chamber. And you can't have a valid argument or a valid freaking debate or a valid discussion in an echo chamber. You know, genius number one is right and everybody else has to kowtow. Well, screw that. That's bullshit. Anyway, enough of that. I am not seeing a lot of tracks, and given the level of the fact that it is cold, it could just be that things are hunkered down. I am going to take a segment break. I am going to possibly switch cameras, because this one's, it is actually behaving, but we're going to switch gears possibly and go a different way. So we're going to be back in a bit, but we're going to take a break right now. And we're going to see if I can find any tracking stuff going on. We will be back, though.
We're going to do this one. This is going to be a short video just because of the conditions today. Looks like light snow, but again, it's cold and wet. The snow is coming down wet, so things are getting wet. And the other camera started doing some odd things, so we're going to switch to the body cam, and it's going to be a little bit more jerky, but that's how things go sometimes. I don't really have any other thoughts today. I'm going to check my my infrasound recording when I get back, see if we picked up. It's very still, so that's one thing. It's a control against when you had a windy day out here. If there isn't any, that would kind of go along with how science would play out, or how you would expect it to. There's really just nothing going on out here. It's like very still and very quiet. So it's peaceful today, which is nice. But not really a lot other than the crunching of the snow and ice under my feet. And the sound of my lovely cold-related sufferings. So that being said, we are going to call this one here. It's going to be a short one, I guess, unless I come back out tomorrow in better weather. Like, subscribe, leave comments to do the YouTuber thing on the way out, and we're going to, again, do the awkward outro and then play with the camera and make it stop, but that means I have like 10 seconds of fumbling with the camera afterwards. So like, subscribe, offer suggestions, make comments and all that, and